Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Joshua Poniatowski, and as always, here with me, Alex Taylor.
What up?
Before we get into the update today, Monday Night Football is happening in about an hour. Full transparency, we record these shows a little bit early to make sure we get you the information on Tuesday that you need right away. With that said, the Chargers are playing tonight. So we don't have an update for that game, but the Chargers have only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns to opposing running backs all year. Crazy enough, those 3 rushing touchdowns, they lost every single one of those games. And those are the only losses that they have. All 3 of those scores were under 20 points. King Henry has scored a touchdown in every single game, if you can believe it, the King. So, Alex, are you benching King Henry against that stout defense with him being touchdown dependent? What are you feeling?
Who would ever bench King Henry? What are you talking about? Of course not. No. I mean, he was RB1, but he's actually now RB2, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But no, obviously not.
So not benching the King. All right. It does take a lot of cojones to do that. I did bench him, I think, in a championship game last year. I ended up losing anyway, but sometimes you got to do it. But I agree. He scored a touchdown every game. The Ravens are the Ravens, so we'll see.
But I mean, King Henry on this Ravens team versus last year's Titans team is a little different. Okay,
big difference. Big difference. I mean, he scored a touchdown in every single game, so I mean, you really can't argue with that. Moving into Week 12 observations, though, what you got for us, Alex? Start us off.
Well, talking of the new RB1 on the season, Saquon Barkley has now jumped King Henry for most points on the season. Mm-hmm. And he's actually number 6 overall, including quarterbacks. So only 5 quarterbacks even scored more than this man. He has 5 games that he's scored more than 29 points in half PPR. 5 games of the season over 29. Insane. And he's still got Panthers, Cowboys, Commanders still on his schedule. All those teams are in the bottom 4 for team rushing defenses. Josh, I mean, obviously, at this point, he's going to win people leagues this year. It's just going to happen the way he's been playing. Looking ahead, looking long term, is he the automatic 101 for you next year?
At this point, I think he has to be a running back, putting up 5 different games, 30 plus performances. He's, especially in that position, being so flaky as we saw this year and guys getting it done that we didn't think would get it done. He is a league-winning running back. He is what we wanted CMC to be. Like, he is exactly doing what CMC did last year. So at this point, it's no questions asked. After him, even currently, there's a clear tier drop-off of who is the most elite running back. And his floor is, 10 to 15 points, and his ceiling is 40. 45. Yeah, so like having that, he's like the Amon-Ra St. Brown of running backs, which is great to have in that type of position. But he has like a boom, kind of like Chase. It's the same situation. So he's got tough Ravens, tough Pitt defense coming up, but I honestly don't think it's going to matter. They're just going to feed him the rock, and the pass game is going to open up the run game. That's the one big difference I think that Philly has benefited him versus the Giants.
And people kind of faded him because they're worried about the tush push. And it's like, they've still been doing the tush push, and he's 100%. Still putting up these insane numbers. It's just bonkers. I mean, the man's just going insane.
Yeah, the agent as well as the GM actually, you know how they have player incentives where you hit certain milestones, you get more money?
Yeah.
They did not include touchdowns in that player incentive because they knew they were going to continue to do the tush push. It still worked productively. Yeah, they didn't want to like turn them off to be like, I need touchdowns to get paid. So they created all the incentives around everything but touchdowns, which is, from a GM standpoint, genius, right? Like, your play works, why change it? So I love that. But yeah, I mean, Saquon, I'm not going to be happy to face him in the playoffs. With each week being more and more important for the playoffs, fantasy managers in general just need to be checking the weather forecast for these games, especially being late in the season now with snowstorms, wind furies. And the reason why I bring this up is because the Browns-Steelers game was a snow game. It was amazing. And anybody who's like, all games should be played in a dome to keep it consistent, get out. You're the worst. But the Browns did end up dropping one, ended up losing. The Steelers ended up dropping one and losing to the Browns. Jameis looking great. Even in a snow game, he was tearing it up. I don't know if you saw his presser before and after, but he was looking good. But the Steelers lost. So how you feeling just after last week talking about the Steelers not losing in the playoffs first round, but dropping one to the Browns? What are your thoughts on that?
One, yes, obviously I saw the Jameis pressers before and after because those are just iconic. I can't get enough. I put them on repeat, just keep watching
every week.
It was really funny because it was a Thursday night games. So I had dinner plans with a friend, so I missed the first half.
Gotcha.
I kind of get in there in the second half, and I'm just kind of like watching this snow game happen, and then I start watching the highlights from the first half, and it's like completely green.
Yeah,
I was
right,
like, it didn't look like that was the same thing. You're like, this is the same game. Like, what happened? It got insane. But yes, as someone with some Russ and some Pickens stock, I've actually watched a good amount of their games, and I will say, I love their defense. I do think they'll do good in the NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
The really annoying thing about Russ is his complete and utter lack of balls. So here's the thing, especially in the red zone, as soon as he feels pressure, he just throws it away. Throws like out the back of the end zone, out the sideline.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't mess around at all. It's like, okay, maybe it's a smart move. I mean, it's great for any Boswell owners out there. And I know, like, as a Bucs fan, that was Brady's thing, like, in his later years. Like, he would just get rid of it. He wasn't messing around with getting sacked.
Getting tackled. Yeah.
Listen, Russ is 36. It's about like a decade younger than Brady was. Right. He needs to use those legs and make something happen. Hit Pickens for some goddamn tutties already. I still think the Steelers are the fourth best team in the AFC. Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, the only ones I would not bet against for them in the playoffs. I still like them from a fantasy. They can be a little bit annoying. But I still like their chances in the actual NFL playoffs.
Okay, very nice.
So the Commanders, they ended up with some pretty good fantasy scores this week. I mean, Daniels was QB1. Scary Terry was wide receiver 7. But I'm not sure it's one to feel confident about. I mean, they only had 9 points going into the fourth quarter against the lowly Cowboys. B-Rob in and out of the game, came back, left in the second, didn't come back in the second half. RIP to my smash start, by the way. I'll get into that later. Eckler looks like he's probably going to be in concussion protocol, assuming he's not playing next week. And actually, next week they play the Titans, who have allowed the second fewest total yards in the NFL per game, number one in passing defense per game. Josh, I mean, without their top 2 RBs, do you still have faith in Daniels and Scary Terry to perform, or would you consider benching them?
So Daniels, no, I wouldn't consider, just because his rushing upside. The reason why he finished his QB1 this past week was not because he was throwing the ball at an elite level, is because he was able to get it done on the ground with his feet. So I feel much more confident with that. With that being said, though, I'm very worried about Scary Terry. The past 2 weeks, he's been targeted 8 times. We take away that 90-yard touchdown reception that he had. He now has 2 back-to-back 8
with what,
points.
like 90 seconds on the clock?
Yes, it was just exactly. Not even. I think there was even less. Like that, all they had to do was tackle him inbounds as the game is over. But we're looking at 2 sub 8-point PPR performances back-to-back weeks. He is literally wide receiver 5 in the season, and I am, like, in one of my other leagues, the trade window is still open. I would highly consider selling him with the Titans coming up, and then you're getting a week 14 bye week. So if you need to win now, he's not necessarily the dude to have. With that being said, you have to have a good other option to bench Scary Terry, wide receiver 6 in the season, right? And
I hear you. One thing about, on Daniels, you still think he's a must start from a rushing perspective. I mean, that was his most rushing yards since week 5, though. He really hasn't, with the rib injury, he really hasn't been running that much. So I don't know if that was just desperation because they all of a sudden were like, oh my God, we're about to lose to, the Cowboys. We got to do something. I don't know. But he really hadn't been rushing as much. So.
And I think it did come down to that, like them looking at playoff options and being like, we need to keep our quarterback healthy. Let's kind of bring it back a little bit on rushing opportunities. And then they were like, well, we're not just going to get by the Cowboys real easily. We need to actually try to do something here.
Yeah.
So they had to go back to kind of their original game script and what we saw earlier in the season, and the Cliff Kingsbury curse after Call of Duty comes out. But the Giants. So the Giants are in shambles. Daniel Jones has been let go. Saquon has literally become the best version of himself. Now that he's out in New York. I know. Dabo, the GM, they're both on the chopping block at this point. I forget what the GM's name is. But Daniel Jones is clearing waivers soon. Where do you think this man might end up?
I think if I am the Miami Dolphins, I'm doing whatever I can to get the man. I mean, Tua went down and they were in shambles. They dropped to 2-6. Yeah. They've now rattled off 3 straight wins, sitting at 5-6, and actually the eighth seed in the AFC, so just outside the wild card. I mean, we saw the train wreck that was their backups that they put out earlier in the season. I mean, these guys are clearly not NFL caliber players, and I'm not a fan of Daniel Jones by any means. Me neither, but he has actually made the playoffs in the NFL at least once in his career. Some of the other guys have never done and will never do. So, and obviously, Tua. We know what's inevitably going to happen to him again. Unfortunately, and I think you at this point it's clear you need a backup plan, and they didn't have a backup plan when the season started. And now they know they need to. So if I'm them, I'm going after Daniel Jones. I don't know.
Okay. I like Miami.
So it's kind of exciting. I feel like we've kind of moved into almost like the third act of the season. It's kind of like, we had that early season. It's kind of fresh. The first 4 or 5 weeks, we're kind of like analyzing everything that's going on. And then we kind of get in the mid-season. It's kind of like the dog days of summer. You're kind of just like slugging it out. And now we're definitely in the late season. We're in this hunt for the playoffs. For a lot of borderline teams, it's essential. You got to win now to either secure a spot, or if you're lucky, maybe get that first round bye. If you got a 6-man playoffs. But it's also kind of fun to kind of look back and reflect on just these storylines that we've kind of had through the season that have happened and then changed, kind of like the ebb and flow, because it's all about what have you done for me lately. So you just kind of look at. I remember leading up to the draft in our pre-draft kits, both you and I were pretty low on Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. And then that first month, he was solid. And it looked like a pretty huge miss by us. Yeah. And we were like, all right, hey, the man's doing good. Gotta respect it. Couple injury weeks missed later, some A-Rich promotions, whatever, not promotions. All of a sudden, he's back. And all of a sudden, Jonathan Taylor is borderline not startable. I mean, I can't trust that man at all with A-Rich under center. Also, another guy kind of going a different kind of path is like Rachaad White, who about a month in, he was one of everyone's biggest draft bust based on where he was drafted. And Bucky is clearly the number one in Tampa. I'm no denying that. I love that guy. Yeah. But White has quietly scored double-digit points in 5 straight games, and he's been averaging 12.8 opportunities per game over that 5-game run. Yeah. His role is disappointing considering, you drafted him as probably an RB1, like a low-end RB1, and it's not that, but he's kind of evolved himself into a high-floor flex play where you're getting some touches. Maybe you get lucky with a touchdown, maybe you don't, whatever. But he's just, he's still under contract for next year on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, Josh, do you think White could kind of almost mimic a David Montgomery situation next year where he falls down draft boards because he's not the clear number one, so nobody's excited about him, but then he just steadily keeps getting results?
I don't think we can go that far and say that he's going to be David Montgomery, and we're going to have 2,000-yard rushers with multiple touchdowns and top 20 running backs, top 10 arguably based on which your league scoring is. So no, I don't think we can go that far. However, what I will say is he is clearly the pass catching back, right, over Bucky. That's what he comes in to do. He still gets opportunities on the ground. And honestly, over the next 6 weeks, their strength of schedule, the Bucs' strength of schedule is just ridiculous. So I don't think that's going to be a fair assessment from a dynasty standpoint. I know we're talking redraft, but over the next 6 weeks, I don't think that's going to be a fair assessment of what that backfield looks like moving forward, because I fully expect the Bucs to blow out most of these teams, get more guys opportunities. The Bucs had 4 different guys have a rushing touchdown against
quarterback, but
last week.
All 3 running backs got a touchdown.
Yeah,
6.
so they're like getting people involved because they know they whoop the team that they're playing, and I fully expect that to continue. Also, Baker loves to throw the ball. Like, Baker wants to scramble, wants to make moves, wants to chuck the rock. It's what he wants to do. Jared Goff obviously does that when the team needs him, but Detroit is a run-focused first team, right? That is their goal. If they're within the red zone, they're giving Gibbs, they're giving Monty the opportunities, which is why we've seen kind of a fall-off of Laporta. Amon-Ra St. Brown's obviously been more touchdown-dependent than typically he usually is, and it's just because they've been running the ball that much more. So I don't think we can go that far, but again, White might be somewhat of a an option over these next couple of weeks, with knowing that he's going to get those opportunities and the teams that he's playing. Yeah.
And I will just jump in real quick. It was kind of against my own point. It was kind of surprising. Bucky actually had 6 targets and caught all 6. He had 6 catches this week. So it was kind of that narrative of White, maintaining that pass catching, role is like, maybe not. But I mean, like I said, he's still under contract. I don't see there's any reason why. I mean, he does his token role well, so it's kind of like, why get rid of it? But Bucky is awesome. So
yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't really make sense for them to sell a running back. It's not like you're gonna get much for a running back anyway. And literally, the only reason that they would sell him is if the Bucs weren't competing next year and the trade deadline was coming up. That would literally be the only reason. Why else get rid of your kind of 1-2 punch there? Give them.
We're in the NFC South. You're always in contention in the NFC South.
There you go. So that's very unlikely to happen. Moving into the Niners, though, they appeared to be a shell of a team. They were. I'm just sorry. They looked like trash without Brock Purdy. It was not good. Green Bay does have a top 10 defense, but CMC wasn't productive because they couldn't get anything going through the air. They loaded the box up. They made sure he was wrapped up. He obviously hasn't looked like the CMC we knew, and maybe it's because he's still kind of dealing with some of those Achilles things in both his legs. Kittle was really the only saving grace from a fantasy production standpoint. I know I asked you this Daniel Jones question before, but I feel like the Niners need a backup, especially with these Brock Purdy concerns. And I think Daniel Jones might be able to fill that role. He also can run the ball a little bit. And Purdy is sneaky from a running standpoint. Not many people give him credit for that, but he is sneaky from running the ball on the ground. So maybe that could happen. But
I mean, the Niners do have like PTSD from losing quarterbacks in the middle of playoff runs, so I could see them like valuing that aspect very highly. So I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean that makes a good fit.
Pay him a little bit.
I don't think. I think every playoff caliber team needs to reflect on like how good do we think our backup actually is, and is that person better than Daniel Jones? Because you can probably get him pretty cheap. I imagine he's gonna be getting a lot of calls. I know people don't want to put a waiver on him because they won't take that contract, but I imagine once he clears, he'll have a lot of offers.
Yeah, and I mean, he even said he doesn't want to go to a like quarterback needy team. Like, he doesn't want to go to the Raiders and play. Like, he wants to go to a championship caliber team to try to win a ring and serve his role as backup quarterback.
Yeah, he just wants to hang out.
Exactly. He already got his $40 million a year. So
why would you do that? Like, why would you be like, oh no, let me go to the Raiders where they're just crashing and burning around me and just like just hang out for like 4 games, however many games left, 6 games, and just hang out and was a shit show around you. But
Maybe he gets us landing another $40 million contract, though. He plays well for 5 weeks, milks another 40 mil. But yeah, so that's an option. But do you, with the Niners state, do you even consider benching CMC, Debo, Kittle, Juwan Jennings, or whoever else on that team if Purdy isn't under center?
CMC is auto start, and Kittle, I think, is auto start. I mean, unless, who knows what your tight end situation is, but most likely your auto start. I mean, Debo and Juwan, I mean, I got one team that I'm deep at receiver. I did have Kittle in my flex, but like I might bench Debo this week. And Juwan, I mean, probably, the same. I mean,
situation.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust either of them, but Kittle and CMC, I would auto start.
Yeah, Kittle was tight end 1 on the year or something like that, or he's up there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I think he's only below Bowers, but
no, he's 1. Well, in half PPR was what I'm looking at, so it's close.
Okay, gotcha.
In half PPR, he's at 137 on the year. Bowers at 130. So
okay,
I'm assuming if you're looking at full PPR, then it's probably the other way.
Yeah, he'd be the other way around. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, moving.
Bowers has 74 receptions to Kittle's 49, so definitely.
Yeah. He's been a target machine, absolute target machine. He's the only person on that team at all, right? Like everybody else, there's nothing existent
at all,
including running back and quarterback and every other position. All right, moving into waiver ads. Remember, these are guys that are available in under 50% of leagues. We tried to find lower percentages this week to help with maybe deeper leagues, especially being late in the fantasy season. A lot of we need to add Juwan Jennings. Like he's rostered like 80+% of leagues, right? So a lot of these backups are rostered. So we're looking for deep ads, maybe 1 game ads, maybe future ads when we're making these considerations. Now, Alex, go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, talking about some deep guys, some low percentage guys. How about Jeremy McNichols? Only 1% owned going into this week. But as I kind of talked about earlier, the top 2 RBs on the Commanders are possibly not playing this week. B-Rob hurt his leg. Eckler with a concussion protocol. So it's got to go. Those touches got to go to someone. Veteran McNichols seems like the next man up. I mean, it's either him or second-year guy Chris Rodriguez. He was a late draft pick. It doesn't really seem like they've used him very much at all over his career. So, I mean, and the Commanders are up against that tough Titans defense I kind of talked about. So I wouldn't expect a huge game, but just one of the rare opportunities where they're very depleted. The 1 and the 2 are gone. It's like, all right, someone literally just has to run the ball and get these opportunities. Sometimes you just follow the opportunities and hope you get points afterwards. So, McNichols might kind of help you out of that jam.
Yeah, I mean, we literally saw this with Amir Abdullah this past week where both running back 1 and 2 were dead in the water, and he got opportunities. He scored a touchdown. I think he had 15 fantasy points. So, like, plug and play running back.
Good game.
Yeah, you need somebody, the opportunities, you follow the opportunities, especially if you're in desperation mode from a, bye week or just don't have any other options.
He's RB9 on the week.
Yeah, there you go. So, that was a guy we spoke about. That was almost identical situation to Nichols. If both the starters are out, you go with the opportunities. My guy is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. I think I nailed that. 21% roster.
I'll go with it.
Yeah. So funny enough, the Titans have the best, not one of the best strength of schedule for the pass and 4 wide receivers in all of the league for the remainder of the season. This man is averaging 5 targets a game. With his average target mark floating around 10 yards, so he's not getting dump offs, he's getting quality targets. And if we exclude the 1 game that he played against the Chargers D, which we know how good they are, he's broken 11 PPR points in 4 out of the 4 weeks that he's played.
Right, never so 4 of the last 5, but one of them was the Chargers.
But Chargers don't count. They got a good defense. Yeah, we're not seeing any more good defense literally for the rest of the year. The Titans don't have any other good defenses that they're facing. So, again, it's not an exciting play. Not, could be risky, but he's had a pretty consistent showing against somewhat viable, somewhat terrible defenses.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely getting touches the last couple of weeks for sure. I think he's got what 6'3", 6'5" targets. So yeah, not a ton of action, but I mean, he had 117 2 weeks ago against Minnesota. So
Yeah.
could do some decent action. Another guy who I don't know. This guy's wild. Noah Gray of the Kansas City Chiefs, tight end, only 6% owned. Sometimes it's best not to ask questions and just go with it. The fourth year tight end for the Chiefs, who has done basically nothing his entire career, now has 4 touchdowns over the last 2 games. That doubled his career total of touchdowns from just like 9 days ago. He's rocking a 50% catch to touchdown conversion rate over these last 2 games. 8 catches, 4 touchdowns. I don't know what Casey has figured out. I don't know if I want to know. But if you scoop him up and start him, you just got a chance to do the funniest thing and pull out another 2-tutty game. Who knows?
Multiple touchdowns. Yeah. I've had on my dynasty team for 4 years, just sitting there collecting dust because you pray and hope that he's going to take Kelsey's place. I don't think that's happening just yet. But what I will say, when I was watching the Chiefs game, I don't know what the percentages are, but he is running plays out of the slot and running plays as a wide receiver. He has, of course, he's a tight end. He has been running plays as a tight end. But when he gets in like bunch formations and 3 personnel wide receiver plays, he's running as a slot wide receiver or a wide receiver, which could be the reason for this uptick and them just trying to find viable weapons for Patrick Mahomes with their depleted wide receiver core, even though they got D-Hop kind of thing. So I think that has led to his increase in production. Longevity of production, don't know. It was a shootout. Kansas City hasn't had many shootouts because their defense has been so elite. But, I think if you're in tight end position, maybe he has 2 more next week, and we're singing his praises again. Another Titan guy, which again, you're probably going to say, like, are you kidding me? No chance I'm starting this man. But Will Levis. Double Titans. Will Levis, got to go with the homer here. 18% of rostered in leagues. So over the past 3 weeks, he has finished as QB 10, QB 20, and QB 11 in scoring with over 17 points and 5 touchdowns. This is the ugliest play ever. Like, if you're starting Will Levis, you are in desperation mode in your league. But maybe there's some deep super flex leagues. You need a quarterback. He hasn't looked terrible from a fantasy standpoint, and we just got done talking about how good his strength of schedule is, best of all teams. He's like Jameis in my mind. He's gonna throw a couple interceptions, even though the Titans have a good defense. When they pick the ball off on the 3-yard line, can't really do much about that. They're probably going to be losing most of their games, so they're going to have to pass the ball. So I think he could be a desperate, viable quarterback play simply based off his recent stats. And yeah, if you need somebody, he's out there.
Yeah,
he's definitely available.
And it was great because due to the apocalypse last week in one of my Superflex leagues, I did need somebody, and I did pick up Will Levis.
Okay,
and it was
very
great.
nice.
I was very
awesome.
happy with that 17 points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was very appreciative. Another guy I'm looking at, rookie Devaughn Vele. I'm assuming it's Vele. I don't know.
It is.
Denver rookie, 7th round wide receiver. Out of Utah, just steadily been seeing his opportunities climb in this, up and coming offense that Denver seems to be having. Sean Payton is still my fantasy terrorist of the 2024 season. I'm still salty about last week, but Devaughn has demonstrated some value as a contributor on this Broncos offense that seems to be pretty steady, and I think it doesn't look like a smash play, but I think in deeper leagues, I think there's like a decent floor there.
So I've been keeping an eye on this guy for honestly since week 3, I think, when Sean Payton started to like roll him out slowly. He typically runs out of the slot, so you're looking at like a target opportunity type of guy. But crazy stat, he has more receiving yards than Xavier Worthy. when we talk about rookies, Xavier Worthy, very top of the list. And this 7th round rookie is not at the top
Xavier
of the list.
Worthy is not the very top of the list over like Neighbors.
When we started the season, he was
all right. I'll give he's
top
drafted in the 7th
5
round. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
So we're talking about 7th round versus 1st round talent. So he's definitely a guy you need to look in. I think Dynasty even more so. But yeah, if you need a guy to maybe he's going to see some opportunities. Again, it's tough to play any Broncos player, but deeper leaves, absolutely sure. It's crazy.
For our listeners, I'll let you know I did just fact check Josh, and he is right.
I am correct.
Devaugh's at 361, and Xavier's at 356. So he's got slim lead. Right. I'll give you that.
You like that though? That was like the shock factor. You were like, "What are you talking about?" No,
I liked it, but I don't want our viewers, listeners, to know that I'm not letting you slide things through on me.
Absolutely, I get it. So yeah, definitely, I like that. I like you got him on the list. Another wide receiver. This is a boomer bust guy, Donovan Wicks. He's rostered 20% of the leagues. Packers are going to be coming off a short week. They're facing Miami on Thursday Night Football. Miami has an elite level pass defense, so this is a tough one. But Romeo Doubs went out with a concussion. With it being a short week, there's a high likelihood that he does not play. If that happens, he becomes an option again, right? Green Bay has a top-tier pass offense. They spread the ball around. You a lot of times don't know what flavor you're going to get that week and who's going to be the boom wide receiver. But this is a great boom or bust type of play who, if Dobbs is out, he's going to see targets. He's going to see opportunities. In Miami, same way, they're going to try to put up points and pass. And like we saw last couple weeks, they've been starting to get in the flow of things, the old Miami of late, where they score 3 to 4 touchdowns a game. So, yeah.
All to Jonnu Smith for some reason, but yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I have no faith in a single pass-catching option in Green Bay. But I know usually about two of like the 5, including Tucker Kraft in there.
That's
two
true.
Of the 5 to 6 playmakers will have a great game. For a while you were kind of confident in Reed, but like Reed has also kind of been hot and cold lately. So yeah, who knows? He definitely could. He definitely could.
It's a boomer bust though. He's getting you 0, 1, 2, or 3, or a 40 bomb. I don't know about 40, but like 20.
Yeah.
All right, so we typically do sell high, buy low targets for this segment, but because we're so late in the season, not a lot of players not a lot of leagues are still open for trading. So we're going to switch this segment a little bit. We're going to try this out. It's called the Bust or Trust segment. This week, I'm going to give Alex just do you pretty much trust this guy, or do you think he's going to be a bust based off who they're playing? So they're week 13 matchups. He's going to just say one word, bust or trust, and then we're going to move on to the next question. If you want to hear, it's going to be quick. You don't even need to explain yourself. Fine. Yep.
That's
bust
fine.
or trust. And if you all want me to ask Alex some bust or trust questions, let me know. You can post it, comment wherever you want, and then I'll bring them back for Alex to answer them. All right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Anthony Richardson versus the Patriots, who are 22-32 against the pass.
Whoa.
I didn't see that coming. I know you love AR. Okay, Nico Collins versus the soft Jaguars pass defense.
Trust.
All right, this one's a little bit more tough. Jamar Chase versus Pittsburgh tough pass defense.
A little tough, but still trust.
Yeah, I mean, if you bench Jamar Chase and he doesn't go off, you got the balls. Like you got balls, you win the league. I would say if that happens. James Conner versus Vikings top 5 run defense.
This one's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trusting though.
Trust in the Conner man. All right. Bucky Irving versus Panthers soft run defense.
Yeah, trust knowing, committee his ceiling's capped, but I trust this man's floor at this point. He's getting the most opportunity, but I trust him.
All right. And then last, Jameis Winston versus the Broncos, stout pass defense.
Bust.
All right.
Love the man. I love the game. Love the snow game of Steelers. I just think he's coming off that high. He's kind of it's the Jameis effect. You get, the pendulum's going to swing.
Yeah.
He's going to hit you with a bad one. It's a bust.
0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions this game. That's what Alex said. Put it on the book. All right, we're going to move into the smash start of the week. Alex, we'll let you get started off.
Yeah, well, it was a rough one for me this past week. My boy B-Rob just totally came off the tracks. I mean, he left the game, came back. I got a little excited, and then the second half we didn't see him the rest of the game, and I was like, oh, he's back to being out. Just total disappointment. Last week, Josh also called my picks "quote unquote" layups.
I
okay?
did, kind of layup. All right, I'm just
all right. Well, let's see how my layup worked last week. Yeah. So this week, prove them wrong. I'm gonna go with one of the bigger draft busts of the season. We had him ranked as wide receiver 12 on our draft kit. This is a guy who hasn't cracked double digits in 5 of the last 7 games. It's the rookie phenom who really hasn't phenomed very much this year. I don't know if that's a verb, but I'm making it a verb. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. of the Arizona Cardinals. They do play the Vikings this week. The Vikings possess a great top 5 run defense in the league, top 5 in points given up total to opponents on the season. But they have allowed the 5th most passing yards per game this season. The Cardinals are currently tied atop the very close NFC West, where 1 game separates first to last place in that entire division. Playing in the Minnesota Dome, so no weather elements to be concerned about. I think Harrison gets loose for 8 catches, 145 yards, and a score. Also, fun fact: I was kind of looking at this game, and I was kind of liking this Cardinals passing offense, and I was kind of looking at McBride. I was thinking about making McBride my start. Did you know he is tight end 3 on the season with 0 touchdowns?
I know he's been a PPR receiving machine, but every time Kyler looks to him in the end zone, like if you go back and watch his end zone opportunities, Kyler skies it. Like it's almost like he's trying. I'm not even kidding. Like almost like he's trying to not give him a touchdown. He literally throws it 10 yards over his head or just makes the ball uncatchable. And some of these passes, I'm talking McBride is in the end zone by himself and he makes those passes. So I don't know what it is, but I mean, I hope they all come at the end of the season because I got me some McBride stock. But yeah, I like that pick. It's either going to go to McBride or Marvin Harrison Jr. And he's needed a breakout game for sure after all the games that he's been quiet. So good pick. My pick last week,
but not a layup. Not a layup.
That's not a layup. Even though Minnesota has one of the worst pass defenses, but still, it's not a layup because Marvin Harrison hasn't been popping off. So I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Kareem Hunt last week. That was the guy that I was saying was a must start. He had 20 opportunities. 5 of those opportunities came in the red zone. He had 90 all-purpose yards. But the Panthers came out of nowhere and said, you know what, Chiefs defense, you've been great against everybody. I don't care. I'm going to put up 27 points and make this a shootout so that we're going to eliminate Kareem Hunt from the equation. He's not going to run the clock down on you. Like, what happened that game? Craziness. So it was not the
NFL, man. That's why I love the NFL so much.
So crazy. Bryce Young marching down the field looking like Patrick Mahomes on the final drive to score a touchdown. I mean, they gave him too much time.
Of course, they
obviously.
gave too much classic.
Yeah, too much time.
Classic.
But the fact
literally everyone saw it. Everyone just like, oh god, Mahomes has how much?
It's
like
over.
90 seconds. Yeah. They're like, oh, that's
too
done.
Much. Maybe 6 seconds isn't enough, but anything over that 10 to 15 mark.
What did the Bills have that one year? Was it like 17 seconds, something like that?
You're cooked. Yeah, too much time for good quarterbacks. But moving into next week, since you're going to take a wild card, I'm going to take a little wild card who has been underperforming. So for the past 4 weeks, Kenneth Kenneth Walker, hasn't broken 14 points in PPR. So in half PPR, he's probably under 10 points over the past, 4 weeks. Super underperforming. This week's, they're facing a stout Jets defense. They have looked great. However, to the run, they've given up a league high about 1.5 touchdowns on the ground a game. Over the past 3 weeks, they've been bottom half in the league against the run. And with Aaron Rodgers deciding to retire and not want to play for the Jets after he just
You're calling
not
that?
retire, but him pretty much just going into that organization, taking
Start
their
his
money,
off-season early.
setting them back about 5 years as an organization. He's like, nah, I don't feel like playing anymore. So you're going to put in the backup. And I just think the team is defeated as a whole. So Seattle's going to break the lead early. Kenneth Walker is going to get the benefits of that. 125 all-purpose yards and a touchdown, 20 points PPR scoring or more. That's what I'm going with.
I mean, if you're like, especially like some of the smaller like DBs or something like that, like there's no point to your season. There's no will. You got Kenneth Walker Jr. The third coming at you like. You're not getting in front of him. You're
right.
just like,
No, thank you. Yeah. And so, you gotta feel bad for the Jets and Jets fans after them thinking this was going to be their year. And it turned out
after thinking
worse.
the last year was going to be their year. And,
oh my God. That's you couldn't write it like more disheartening for the Jets.
Those poor bastards.
Situation. Yeah. But last thing before we go, this is the very end of our segment. I had to make sure to give Alex a shout out. Me and Alex are playing each other in our league, and I would just like to give a quick recap of the score. I should have started with it so everybody could hear it.
Yeah, I'm surprised you waited. I literally was waiting for it.
I forgot about it. I am sitting at 175 points. We'll round up to 0.09. And Alex currently is sitting at 99 points. So
you still have one player.
Thank you, sir. You do still have one player. So he'll probably break the 100, 110, 115 threshold. But
good game.
It was good doing business.
Rob got hurt. Jonathan Taylor's nothing with A-Rich back. I mean, it was just one disaster after another. But good week. Good. I beat you early in the season, so we're 1-1.
You did. We're even for sure.
Maybe we'll see each other in the playoffs. Who knows?
Ooh, that would be cool. That'd be fun.
I think we're both fighting that like 6th spot though. So
we are. Yeah, don't tell people we're fighting for the 1 and 2. What are you talking about? No, you can't be an all-star in every league. But if y'all like what you heard, thanks for hanging out with us. Like and subscribe. If not, we appreciate you being here. As always, go steal a championship, and we'll see y'all next time.
Peace.